To my YouTube channel, Cosmos, in which I used to talk about some educational information based on the Bru people. And tonight we are going to discuss on Bru religiosity. The main purpose of this topic which I have chosen is I have received so many phone calls and from some researchers in various fields like religious and theological, and also from secular background. So I would like to talk this topic for a knowledge purpose. And first of all, we are going to discuss about Brus society, the bird's eye view of Brus society in the past. Brus society economically are based on agriculture. It is the forest-based livelihood, and it is not permanent at all. They are nomadic tribe as such. They wander in search of cultivable land from one place to another. In other words, we can say the Bru people are wandering people. As my discussion is going on, I will use two terms, they and we. And when I discuss the past story, the past history of the Bru people, I will use they. And when it comes to now, at present condition, I will use we, as I'm belonging to the Bru community. So, as we have discussed the economical background of the Bru people, there is no permanent settlement, or in the past there is no political identity for the Bru people because they wander one place to another. They have no permanent settlement, they have no permanent place, so to say. And also, when it comes to social life, it was a close society. Bru people were close society, which means they are dependent on each other. They believe in interdependent. They did not live separately. That is how the social life was in the past. And to make clear about in the interdependent society of the Bru people, they used to work together and help each other without any price in return. That is very significant in their life. And also, they have filial piety, respect to elders, respect to one another. That is called filial piety. It is also regarded most in the past among the Bru society. And also, apart from filial piety, they also regard it as a conventional ethics as one of the highest the condition for the life of the people. Failure to accomplish the conventional ethics or the moral ethics of by the people, and it was regarded as the culprit or the as worthy of so to say worthy to son of from the society, worthy to be punished. And they have also social participation in many activities like fishing, festivals, birth and death of persons. So to make clear about the social participation of the Brus society in the past, like they have as the social gathering, like a festival. In every festival, they have a big gathering in which everyone has their own participation to fulfill their own task. Let's say the Boisu festival was recognized as one of the famous festivals of the Brus society in the past and even till today, in which everyone is trying to please someone. It was at the festival, it lasts for 2 days to show the filial piety and also the conventional ethics. Filial piety in the sense, on this occasion of the Boisu festival, they respect so much about the older people. Right from the morning, they said they used to wash the feet of the elder, they said, by the young people. It was the time to show the younger people their respect towards the elder, and also to respect for the parents by the children. And the fishing culture also there, in which social participation was there. And also in the case of birth, if certain woman is about to deliver a baby, we have a culture of midwifery. Midwife. Every village has a midwife, 2-3 midwives, and the culture of midwifery was very much appreciated. Even today we have, and this midwife, the works and is a voluntary work. It is a social service voluntarily, so to say. And commonly, the midwife were the woman, older woman. So when there is someone who is about to deliver a baby, this midwife went and tried to help the woman. And along with the midwife, there were 2-3 persons who helped midwife. And apart from this midwife team, there are some people, especially women folk, who also wanted to help the family of the delivering the woman who is about to deliver. So the women folk flock together and help the family, and also help the midwife, and also help the woman. So that is a culture in the past we have. And also in the field of politics, tradition, the political life, a group part, we have who used to administer the whole village, the particular village. So, and along with him, there were some, he had his co-workers to administer the village. So they settled the problems or the conflicts which has been arise in the village. So they used to settle it by means of customary law, based on customary law. That is number one. And number two is, apart from customary law, they also based on the moral law, which is universal to all human beings, irrespective of caste, irrespective of religion, society, region. So they based on customary law of the people, of the Bru people, and also based on the moral law, the universal law. And now we have discussed about the economic life of the Bru people in the past. They are agro-based and nomadic society, wandering in search of the new land, the cultivable land, from one place to another. And we can see in the social life, they are interdependent society, the Bru people in the past. Although in the particular village, there were about 20 to 30 households. Of course, they are small comparing to today. But their organization, the social life, is very connected each other. In the field of fishing or the work culture is also interdependent. They help each other. And when it comes to political life, we have Chaudhry, and who administered the village, and he ruled on the basis of customary law and also based on the moral law of the universe, universal law. So now the religiosity of the Bru in the past, that is one of the main topics. Now we are going to discuss this. The Bru tribe regarded life as circular. The Western thought or the Western philosophy regarded life as linear or a straight forward. So it has its own beginning and also for the finishing line. There is the destination in the case of the Greek philosophy. But when it comes to our Bru society, we perceive life or time as circular, which does not have beginning and also no destination, which means it has connection to each other. It is interconnected to every form of life, the circular form of life in which everything is connected. What connects this life is, which connect every life, every part of life, every form of life, is the religious life of the people. That is the central phenomena of all life for the Bru people. So the religious life pervades. The religious life of the Brus people permits all other life, all other dimensions of life. Let's say the socio-economic life, the political life, that is also is interconnected by the religious itself. So every form of life, say social life, economic life, political life, is also interpreted or controlled, conditioned by the religiosity of the people. That means the religiosity or the religious life of the Brus people is or was the highest form of life. So that is clear, I hope. And which the religiosity, the religious life of the people connects the economic life of the people, the social life of the people, and also to the political life of the people. So it is very active, in other words. And the spirit of working together as a social ethos has also been imported to the economic life and also to other lives. Likewise, their political life and social life were also controlled, conditioned by the religious life of the people. And let's say in this way, we know about the different blood groups of human beings. Say A, B, and also O. There is A group, B group, AB group, and O group. O group is considered as the donor, universal donor. It can donate to A group, A blood group, and also to B group, and also to AB group, and even to O group. So universal donor is O group. Likewise, the religiosity or the religious life of the Brus people in the past is something like a universal donor, like a blood group O, which can be fitted to any blood group. So the religiosity of the people is and can be fitted to economic life, social life, and also for the political life of the people. So this connectivity to every sphere makes interconnectedness of all dimensions. That makes that sense circular life. So it is therefore this fact that the Brus people think themselves religious by birth, because religiosity is the foremost and the highest form of life. So the Brus people, even today, we are considered ourselves as the religious by birth. Feeling of circularity of life has relevance for the Brus people, even in the past and for the present. It makes them feel all things are connected and interdependent. The feeling of interconnectedness, the feeling of circularity of life has significant for the Brus people because it makes us think about and what we have to remember this discussion is especially for the section of the Brus society in the past, just we have discussed is number one, Life is circular and interconnected. The Brus people in the past, they considered life as interconnected and also circular. It has no beginning, no finishing line, finishing point. So it comes around and repeated in this way. And secondly, religious life plays blood group O role, the role of blood group O, and it connects every reality. Religiosity of the people is something like blood group O, which connects every form of reality. And number 3 is religious life is the highest form of life. The people of the Brus people in the past, they regard the religiosity or the religious life is the highest form of life. And number 4, everything lies on interdependence. We discussed about the Brus society, but the Brus society think outside of the society, outside of the Brus society, in relation to this interconnection. Even other creation, like so to say dog, and also a forest, and a human being, and God and human being, and other things, all are interconnected. That is what the Brus people had felt in the past. Life is circular in the sense Brus people in the past, like today, they thought that soul is eternal. Human soul is eternal. So after the death of our body, but still the human soul is alive, and it transforms to another body. It is something like similar to Hinduism, but this is not influenced by the Hindu society also. It is the originality of the Brus people. That's how we think. And we don't compartmentalize the past life, the present life, and the future life. So the present, the past, and the future are interconnected for the Brus people. That is how it is circular. And we used to ponder the suffering of today. Suppose I'm bad feeling, or I suffer from certain disease. So I happen to think that, oh, I might have something wrong in the previous or in the past, or my parents, my grandparents. So that is how we used to think. The causes, we try to find a cause out of the past activity. That is why for the Brus people, we cannot just let go away the past activity, the past action, and we cannot just separate, we cannot just forget about the past life, because it has some connection to the present life as well. So that is how the circularity of life that we considered, and it is also interdependent. And interdependency can be discussed out of metaphysics. We have the way how we discuss today is in the form of metaphysics. But outside of metaphysics, we can still discuss about this interconnectivity of life, because working together, partnership in the field, in the drum cultivation or fishing or festival, this is out of metaphysics. We get together and we walk together, we dance together. This is how we participated. If someone is not coming, or if someone is not participating, there is a space for him or for her, and there is no the completion. So it is interconnected life. And also the highest form of life is religious life. Though the religiosity or the religious life of people connects every form of life, like economic life, social life, political life, but it is the highest form of life. It stands at the center of the lives, which controls, which conditions every form of life, the other form of life. That is why religiosity or the religious life of the Brus people in the past is the highest form and the central form of life. And now we are going to discuss about the religiosity, how it connects other dimensions of life, how the religiosity connects other dimensions of life. We have also discussed a bit the religiosity or religious life of the people is the decisive factor, for all dimensions of life. It is very important. Religiosity of the people or the religious life of the people is the very decisive factor to do or to think or to work, whatever, for the Brus people. And it is also the value judgment which judges right and wrong and good or bad. It is through the religiosity of the people that makes think which is good and bad. So it is a form of value judgment, the measurement of all things for the Brus people. So it is very important. And now, how the religiosity connects all forms of life. According to Dr. Lincoln Briang, the associate professor of Tripura University, in his book, Mapping the Particularly Vulnerable Tribal Group in Tripura, he said in that book, for the Brus, religiosity begins with the birth and ends with the death. Religiosity or religious life begins with the birth of the person and ends with the death of the person, which means religiosity or religious life is encircling the life of the people, the whole life of the person or the individual. And it means religiosity is the conditioning factor. It is the conditioning factor, decisive factor, which permits the entire life of the people. Religiosity is the conditioning factor which permits the entire life of the Brus people. It penetrates each and every life of the people, be it economic life, be it social life, be it political life. It permits to all other form of life. Let's say, in the social life, The people of the Bru in the past, it is not simply to respect the elder people. It is not out of something thinking about themselves. No, it is the religiosity or the religious culture of the people that makes him or her to respect the elder. So the religiosity is the judgment in which every form of life they can see bad or good, right or wrong. So it is the feeling of religiosity that makes them to have a culture of respecting one another. And also, when it comes to economic life, someone, when it comes to clear the forest for jung cultivation, let's say, first of all, he seeks for the cultivable land, and not only the dense forest, which is suitable for the cultivation, but also for the fitting of his religious life. That is what they are also considering. Suppose the land where there is the cave of bad cave, let's say. For the Bru, they normally don't clear the forest where there is the cave of the bat, this mammal. They considered there is some spiritual things, some spirit, let's say evil spirit, resided in the cave. Very funny. So that is also the notion, the feeling of religiosity that connects even with the economic life, the economic sentiment, let's say. So it is controlled by the feeling of the religiosity that makes them choose or live. So even in the searching period, they search with the eyes first, which will be fitted for the cultivation, and secondly with the feeling of religiosity, whether it is fitting for his belief of religiosity. So if it does not fit with his religiosity, religious feeling or religious life, then they used to leave the forest, the particular place, and search for another. And also when it comes to political life, we have already talked about the Chaudhry's administration, which is performed based on the customary law of the people, and also based on the moral, ethical, universal law, good or bad, so to say natural law. And when there is a conflict to discuss in the Chaudhry court, the Chaudhry and his co-workers, the settlement is done based on the customary law and also based on the moral law, which is witnessed by the people, the general people of the village, so that moral law, natural law is coming from the sense, the feeling of religiosity. They have the feeling of religiosity, that religiosity makes them decide which is good, which is plausible, which is not good. So apart from the customary law, they used to think and compare the situation, the case from the moral law of the people, of the universe. That is the religiosity of the life, in the political life. At that time, they did not know about the moral law outside of the village. The moral, let's say, the moral law of the other people, other tribe, like Western people or the Greek philosophy, or even next to their village. But they have some consciousness of themselves. This consciousness is religiosity. The Chaudhry and his co-workers, they do not depend only on the customary law of the people, because customary law can also, there is no generosity in the customary law. Based on that, if they settled, let's say if someone is very poor, she or he does not have to pay the 500 rupees, let's say. But the feeling, the consciousness of the religiosity by the Chaudhry and his co-workers would say that, oh, this person did not have even 500, what to do? And they will settle with the moral law of the universe, the religiosity, the feeling of religiosity. Okay, let him pay 100 or 50 rupees. So that is how the settlement was going on in the past. So that is also is one form of religiosity in the political life of the people in the past. And also in the social gathering, like Boisu festival, there are some elements of the religiosity which is permitted in the festival. So let's say Goriya dance. Goriya dance is devoted for the spirit they worship. The spirit they worship. And it is the elements of the worship for the spirit. It is not only to entertain the people. It is also for to show, to respect the spirit. And a woman, before cooking rice in the morning, they said, she first worshipped the rice box. She knelt down before the rice box and worshipped the rice box before taking out of, and they felt that there is Mainuma, the spirit. She knelt down before taking out of the rice out of the box, and she performed rites, and then only she used to take the rice out of the box and cook. And in other form of life, like birth and death, a religious rite, the religiosity is also the birth of the baby, in the marriage, and also at the time of the death. So religiosity, as Dr. Lincoln has said, birth till death. So the Bru lives in touch with the forest, and their lives is deeply connected with the forest. And in other words, forest is the backbone of the people. The backbone of the people. It is the ventilator of the people in today's time. Ventilator, which has some means oxygen and other things to sustain the life of the people. Also the identity of the people. Forest is the identity in which we draw our own identity. It is through the forest that the Bru people used to draw their identity, our identity. They believe that there is spirit in the forest, and they are afraid to do anything against the spirit. Where there is the something which is against the spirit, they don't want to do against the spirit, because it can affect their life. So the metaphysics and their physical life, the phenomenal life is closely connected. And the Bru believes in panentheism. The Bru believes in panentheism. The panentheism means God is in everywhere. Bru believes that there is spirit in the river, spirit in the forest, spirit in the big trees. So that is how the Bru people conceived about the spirit. And that is why their life is also controlled by this panentheism. They respect each other because they feel that God is, or the spirit is also inside this person and inside the animal, inside this tree. That's why their life is controlled by this panentheism feeling. And we will jump into religiosity of the Bru people today. The Bru people, there are so many external forces today, the challenges for the Bru people. And number one is globalization, as we all know about what is globalization, and also Christianity. Let's say this is also, it is migrated. And also urbanization. There is, in the previous life of the Bru, they have a small household in a village, but now it becomes large life today. And this globalization is very strong force for the Bru people today, because we ourselves are not yet prepared for this globalization. In other words, we are not fit enough to receive the globalization, the global force, like technology or like development by the government or any other issues, globalization. And in globalization there is certain issues like trying to uniform the culture of the global people, all people. They try to draw all people into one culture. There is one motive of the globalization. And for that, the Brus people, we are not yet prepared to receive or to understand what is globalization. As we have said, the motive of globalization is to uniform the culture of the people of the world. So, and the religiosity today is challenged by these global forces like globalization, urbanization, and Christianity. Christianity, when we talk about Christianity, it could be or it would be there some the spirit of Christianity even in the past of the Brus society. The religiosity itself, when we talk about the religiosity, the religiousness of the people itself can be similar to this Christianity. But today what we understand Christianity for the Brus people, by the Brus people, is something like institutional. In the past, in the previous form of life, the Brus people never ever consider the religious life as certain something like institution. It is only about the way of life. The Brus people in the past consider religion as the way of life or the form of life which controls, which pervades to all other form of life. So unlike the past, we do not perceive life as circular. We do not perceive life as circular. In the global forces like urbanization, I would like to extend something about urbanization. Urbanization in the previous form of life, in the past life of the Brus people, we divide areas. We divide areas with in the form of the natural boundary made by the river, big river. So in every big river, the Brus people in the past considered that there was spirit in the river, and that divides the region also, like the Tlong River and the Karnafuli River, the Magri River, and also Dergang River. So this is bit of that particular river has his or her own boundary. So beyond that, the people who live inside that boundary, the particular boundary, they hardly cross the boundary because they are afraid that something might happen to me, because this is out of the spirit that I worship. It is beyond the boundary of the spirit of which I worship. That is how they considered about the region, the division. And but now, as urbanization spirit is going on, we migrated from one place to another, looking for the big household, the big village. Now we tend to live in the big village. That is also can be considered as urbanization, and in which we don't have that, we still have that boundary made by the spirit of the river, the spirit of the river. So when it comes to urbanization, when we live together from different parts of region, there is some conflict, there is some problem that arises out of that feeling, because we tend to disconnect. We tend to disconnect or separate the person who is coming from different areas, different localities, or different religion outside of that the spirit areas which I worship. So, for example, if I lived inside the boundary of their gang river or their gang spirit, suppose when a person is coming from the southern part, let's say the Magri River, the region commanded by the spirit of Dergang River, the Magri River. So when it comes to meet each other, they have certain feeling, which bad feelings, let's say, which disconnect between them. So there is a problem which we are facing today. The regionalism spirit is still there. So that is what the challenges for us today. And life today we don't consider as circular, because we imported some ideas of linear, the straightforward life, which is from, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from Western ideas, Western philosophy or Western thought, which they considered life as linear. They don't consider life as connected or circular. And when there is compartmentalization of each form of life, there is disconnection between all forms of life, like economic life, social life, political life, religious life, in which if we consider life as linear, that means we consider religiosity or the religious life as institution today. In the past, religious life was never considered as institution, but today we consider as institution. In the past, the Brus people considered the religiosity or the religious life as a way of life which controls every form of life, be it economic, political, or social life. It permits all life. That is the way of life. But today we consider as are a bit disconnected. We are a bit away from what the Brus people in the past had considered about this life. They consider the whole life of the human being is circular. But now we consider as a straightforward, which has beginning and ending. So now we tend to think that out of this religiosity or religious life, we try to seek the superiority of life, the superior form of life, apart from religion. So there is something like generalization of all dimensions. In the past, religiosity is the highest form of life for the Brus people. Today it was not the highest form of life. The Brus people generalize all forms of life. They tend to think all forms of life are equal. Today we think in that way. It is generalization of all dimensions of life. So be it economic life, social life, political life, religion life. Religion life is also equal to economic life, is also to social life, and is also political life. It is not superior at all today. And we also consider that there is somewhere where religious activity must be done. In the past society, the religious life is permitted in every hour, in every form of life, and in every occasion. Let's say in the past, even at the verge of delivery of the baby, there is something ritual practices. The rites, the religious rites is also performed. And that is why Dr. Lincoln is talking about it permits the whole life from birth to death. But today, we separate these dimensions one by one. Here there is economic life, and here we compartmentalize social life, economic life, and also for the religious life. That shows that there is some certain time for this form of life. For example, for Christian, Sunday is a day that we used to worship, come together in the church and worship together, and that is the worship day. Although other nights like Wednesday night and also Saturday night also is also consecrated for the worship service. But we normally consider Sunday as the big gathering day for the worship. So now we consider religiosity or religious life is for Sunday or certain time. It is not considered as something which can be relevant for day-to-day life, from morning till night. That is why we have that notion that affects our lives. And secondly, in the past, as we have discussed, religiosity is the deciding factor, or the value judgment mechanism. Religiosity is the value judgment mechanism in the past, which is good or bad, right or wrong. To know this value, right and wrong, good and bad, they used to compare with the religiosity, the religious life, and which is drawn out of the religiosity. It is not compared, and also not based on the economic life, not power, not might. It is only through the religiosity that they decide that this is good and this is not good. But today, the deciding factor has been changed. In the past, it was religiosity, but today it is materialism. Today, good and bad, right or wrong, is judged and is drawn out of materialism, which subordinates religious life. Materialism subordinates our religiosity. Value system is based on morality or religiosity in the past, as we have discussed. Value system is judged in the form or out of the religiosity in the past. But today, value system is based on power or materialism. So there is the difference between the past society, the religiosity of the past, and the religiosity of the present. And thirdly, today we conceived God as somewhere outside of human affairs. In the previous life, in the previous society of the Brus, they considered panentheism, as we have already talked about. Panentheism. God is in everywhere. In me, in you, and there. But today we consider God as outside of human affairs. Something transcendental. It is wholly otherness of God. In the past society, God is with us. God is in you. God is there. So through this feeling, they used to perform every form of life with this feeling. But today, we think ourselves that in certain cases, in certain time, we are out of God's affairs. God's what is that? God's consciousness. And we tend to think that we are free from God today. And it is more of transcendental. God is out of touch. God is somewhere there, which is outside of human affairs. That is very important, because when it comes to our economic life, when it comes to political life, if we perceive God is with me every time, God is in me every time, we cannot do against the God, the worship. We cannot do against the will of God, and we are afraid to do against the religiosity. So of this feeling that God is immanent, God is with me. Today, many people, they tend to corrupt. They are corrupted today. Many people, even in political life, those people, they think themselves that they are out of touch by God. They think that God is something outside of me. But when we feel God is in me every time, we will not be able to do against God. So there is the difference. And as we have discussed, in the past, there is interconnectivity of life, circularity of life. But today, we think life as linear. It is straightforward. There is number one difference. And secondly, the difference is we tend to think God as outside of our affairs. In the previous form of life of the Brus people, they think God is with me, panentheism. very second thing. And also in the previous form of life of the people, the Brus people, they used to think religiosity as the way of life. It was the way of life. But today we consider religion or religious life as an institution, something there, something like a compartmental. We compartmentalize this, that. It is not connected. In the past society, they consider religiosity as the way of life. Way of life means every single life, every minute of my life, there is religiosity, controlled by religiosity, the feeling of religiosity, feeling of religiousness. So now it is something about institution, and it is no more the driving force of our life today. In the past society, religion or religiosity is something like a driving force which control their thinking, their thoughts, their action, their activity, everything. And that is why they cannot just steal something from others, because they are controlled by the religiosity. It is the driving force of the people. But today we can murder other people. So now it is not controlled at all. That does not mean that God does not want to control us, or the Spirit does not want to control, but we ourselves try to think ourselves as something outside of the God, or try to think God as something outside, wholly others, transcendental. So, and in the past, they regard the mass, the people first. The activity, the function of certain festivals or certain activities, it is with the people only. And they love to participate among the people. They love to work together in the past. But today, we love to live by ourselves. We love to live alone. That is the society difference from the past society. And that's the feeling, the consciousness of religiosity. It is two things. It could be relevance for two things. Number one is for my life, and also for the life of the people. But today we neglect this, the life of the people. That is why the importance of the people as a whole is decreasing today. We consider individual life. Individual life is something higher than the masses. And also the religiosity, the feeling of religiosity by the individual is also different. In the past, they felt good or right thing out of their sense of religion. They try to participate, or they try to contribute for the people, for the village, for the masses. But today we don't want to participate, or we don't want to contribute for the society as a whole. We love we love to worship God alone. We love to live alone. And the sensitivity of religiosity is also is not for the people today. So it is more of individualism today. It is more of individualistic today. And the feeling of religiosity is also for the individual now. It is not for the people as a whole. It is not the tribe as a whole. It is not the society as a whole. It is for the individual that we are perceiving about the religiosity today. We may have some good connection with God, but that sensitivity does not go for the contribution of the people. And everything is for the individual alone today. And that is how the difference between the past society and today's society regarding religiosity. Today, we have the deciding factor like materialism, which is more of economic power. Materialism is economic power. Previously, the past society, religiosity is the value judgment mechanism. Today it is power. And thirdly, we conceive God as somewhere. But in the past, they consider God is here. And previously, they considered life as circular. Everything is interconnected and interdependent. But today, we don't consider life circular. It is straight. And in the past life, the people of Brus in the past considered religious life as the way of life, which pervades, which conditions other form of life, all other dimensions. But today, it is not the driving force. It is not the way of life at all. It is something like an institution. That is how we consider about religion today. And the religiosity of a person is also not for the people or not for the society. It is for the individual, himself or herself alone today. That's why for the Brus people today, we have to think about all these challenges. Maybe because the changing of the trends is something like the external force that makes us think about in this way. Urbanization, globalization. That is the external force. Very big forces for us to think in different, that deviates our thinking, our religiosity. In the past, there was no urbanization, there was no globalization that tries to make uniformity of the whole traditions. But today, globalization tries to make uniformity of culture. That may be also a big reason that we tend to think, we start to think individualism or God as different. God is wholly other, God is transcendent. And also life is straightforward. So developmental life, that is the motive of globalization. So this may be the good factor for the changing and the shifting of our religiosity, the sense of religiosity from the past. So we have a big challenge today, and for the religiosity of group people today, we need to take very serious of these external forces, like, as we said, urbanization, globalization, and also other forces. We cannot name them all today. So first, we must be acknowledged about these forces, and in the light of the religiosity, now what would be the right way to go or to live our life in the midst of these challenges, these forces. This is our challenge for today, the group people. So that is how we can discuss about the religiosity of the group people in the past and present. And I thank all the viewers, all the listeners today, and thank you for watching all my discussions. And in future, I would like to talk more about these metaphysical things, which is related to the group people. So thank you all for watching, and kindly subscribe my channel, and also comments if you want. If you have inquiry, you can inquire by typing comments, and we can still continue discussion. Thank you.